Hello, everybody. This is Zak Sloan and Ann Luna with our very special guest today, Mr. Ryan Kairalla. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Zach and Ann. Thank you so much for having me.
Just to give everybody a little background on who you are. In fact, a lot of the people who read our blog, watch our vlog, might know who you are already. But you are an attorney, an author, a podcaster, a blogger, a ukulele player, and a lover of all things music. Did I miss anything?
No, that sounds about right. A Virgo too, I suppose.
Fantastic. And we asked you on to do this video with us today because Ann and I do these monthly vlogs. And last month we were doing our vlog and we were sort of prepping for our show, our show. And one of the things that really was getting under my skin at the time, and Ann probably remembers me being fairly angry, livid, if you will, was that I'm a part of a lot of musical community groups, and I saw somebody ask a question about copyright, and I saw a very prominent person in the industry answer that question in such a way that infuriated me. And I wrote an email, and then I deleted it, and then I took more appropriate action to say, hey, individual, I don't think this is good. And so I wanted to talk about it in our vlog, but then it occurred to me, I'm not an entertainment attorney. I'm not an attorney. Well, I mean, I'm licensed to practice. I don't practice anymore. And we should probably find somebody who knew exactly what they're talking about. And so thank you for filling that void and coming on as our expert witness for the day.
Oh, happy to help. This is exciting.
So, Ryan, it's really nice to have an attorney have this conversation with us because, as a lot of our viewers know, I used to practice law. I don't anymore. But I'm just feeling a little bit uncomfortable with I've got my hoodie on. I've got my Teresa Mahoney t-shirt on, which go buy her record. She's really great.
Nice.
Do you mind if I just get more appropriately dressed for the occasion to talk to a fellow attorney?
That would seem like the right thing to do given the circumstances.
All right. I'll be right back. I'm doing it as fast as I can, people. Don't worry.
I was about to say, how fast can he change? He's actually jumping into a phone booth. Whoa, that was fast. My goodness.
We have fun here. Let's see. I haven't worn a suit and tie since my last day in court. Still fits. Mr. Kairalla, would you mind explaining to our listeners, our jury, if you will, what is the poor man's copyright, and why is it the worst thing on the planet?
There's this pervasive myth that's going on throughout the music industry. In fact, my own music teachers would tell me that this was true. And it's the idea that you don't need to register your copyrights formally with the U.S. government. And in fact, all you have to do to have a copyright over the songs you write or books you write or anything like that is take the song, put it in an envelope, lick the envelope, seal it, and then mail it to yourself. And then once it comes back to you, boom, you have a copyright. It's a miracle. And it'll have a little date on the front of the envelope so you have proof of when you wrote the work. And I remember even being like 15 years old and being like, that doesn't sound right. I don't trust the post office for anything, much less copywriting stuff. And I didn't find out until I became a lawyer why that didn't seem right to me when I was 15. That kind of technique is known as the poor man's copyright, and it's actually pretty much meaningless. What a lot of people don't know is that if you want a copyright with all the federal protections, you don't have to mail anything to anybody. In fact, you have a copyright from the moment you write something down on a sheet of paper, record it onto a tape recorder. I could draw like a little clown on this index card, and the moment that clown is done being drawn, it has a full copyright. So mailing it to yourself doesn't actually do anything. But there are reasons why you would actually want to do a full copyright registration where you send the work to the federal government. And that's because once you do that, once you get it registered with the government, it's really cheap to do, only about $35. You get what are called statutory damages, which are the only kind of damages that are worth anything in copyright. And if somebody steals your work, you're entitled to attorney's fees. And you don't get that by mailing it to yourself. So there's really no substitute for real formal federal registration. And unlike almost everything else that's involved with working with the government, registering your copyright's really easy to do. There's a step-by-step process on copyright.gov, and you just do it the right way. It'll make your life easier.
Would you say that it would be possible for an individual to register their own copyright without consulting an attorney?
Well, I know lawyers are never supposed to say this, right? Because lawyers, we always have to say legal advice, make sure you get a lawyer, you get a lawyer. And it is always good to get a lawyer. But I will say that under most circumstances, if you're just registering a song and you're the only songwriter of that song and you recorded that song yourself, you can probably register your copyright without a lawyer if you're looking to save on the legal fees. Very simple copyrights you can absolutely do yourself. Copyright.gov has great resources that walk you through the process step by step, and will get you taken care of. And if you really do need a lawyer's help and you can't afford it, there are some great pro bono resources out there, volunteer lawyers for the arts, that can help you get you through this process. There really is no reason why you should mail anything to yourself.
Thank you for clarifying that point. They always told me to look at the jury. I don't know. I should clarify. I did do three jury trials, so I'm basically Perry Mason.
That's 3 more than I've done. I'm a transactional lawyer, so.
Well, actually, that was something I wanted to chat a little bit about. Was as an entertainment attorney, what does that mean? Because a lot of times when I'm talking to people, like, "Oh, you're a lawyer," and I go, "Well, yeah, but I'm not an entertainment attorney. This is not my specialty." What are the things that you specialize in as an entertainment attorney?
Well, so you're correct in sort of implying that there's really no such genre of law as entertainment law. Really what it is entertainment lawyers practice the legal issues that are implicated by the entertainment industry. And so as an entertainment industry lawyer, I focus on the legal issues that confront musicians, and that's going to include things like copyright law and trademark law, what we call soft IP, soft intellectual property. It's going to involve looking at a lot of contracts, recording agreements, production agreements, live performance agreements, licenses. It's also going to involve corporate law. A lot of artists, we set up limited liability companies and corporations for them to structure their entertainment work, and we handle a lot of those things. And there are even some entertainment lawyers who handle litigation. Every once in a while, artists either sue or are being sued, and you need somebody to represent you in court. Thankfully, I don't do as much of that work, and that's why I'm such a happy guy.
And you brought up trademark. Trademark is significantly more complex than copyright for your average individual. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. Trademark law is a lot more specialized. It can be a lot more confusing. And in most cases, when you're confronting trademark issues, you are best served by having a lawyer by your side.
And I think a lot of confusion that people I talk to, a lot of the confusion that I try to explain, and I apparently don't do it very well because I keep asking the same question. What's the difference between a trademark and a copyright?
That's an excellent question. And it's something that a lot of artists and just a lot of people in general have trouble with. And it's something that artists need to know the difference between, because artists need to care about both of these areas of law. Both of these areas are critical to the money an artist makes. So copyright law specifically protects the creative works that an artist creates. If an artist writes a song, if an artist records a record, writes a book, draws a picture, those creative works of authorship are covered under copyright law. Now, contrast that with trademark law, which covers an artist's brands, the artist's name, the artist's logos, the artist's stylized marks. So basically, these are the things that you put on your products, your goods, your services, like your albums, your live performances, your merchandise. And what these things do is they signify to consumers that the products they're getting are coming from you as opposed to from somebody else. And so, that's to protect your goods and your services. And it lets consumers know that when they get a Zak Sloan brand t-shirt, that t-shirt was made by your company and not some other, person who's, trying to make a buck off your name.
Perfect. So theoretically, would it be possible for me to to copyright, say, trademark this gesture.
That's very funny. Gene Simmons, I believe, ran into that very issue where he was trying to trademark the devil horns hand gesture. And generally, you can copyright images and pictures, and you can even copyright smells, and you can copyright sounds. For example, NBC, doom, doom, doom. That is a registered copyright of NBC. Somebody else can't use those sounds for their TV network. But in the case of Gene Simmons, when he tried to copyright the rock, devil horn hand gesture thing, he ran into other issues why he couldn't register that copyright, including the fact that he wasn't really the first to use it in commerce. When you try to register a copyright, you have to be able to show that when people think of your trademark, they think of you. And when people think of the devil horns, they don't think of Gene Simmons. They think of, all kinds of other artists. And so that brand doesn't have any significance to Gene Simmons in the eyes of consumers. And so he would have had a hard time trying to register that devil horns hand gesture. Plus, he ran into a lot of backlash for that. Like all the people were like, man, you can't trademark that. That's just rock and roll. You can't own rock and roll, man.
Yeah, nothing is opposed to rock and roll as trying to own it.
Exactly. I don't know what he was doing there. I think he was just trying to steal some headlines, and he knew that if he tried to trademark that, he'd get covered on my podcast for a few episodes, and other entertainment publications would talk to him.
I tend to agree.
Yeah.
And finally, before I turn it over to Anne, because she had some questions about some specific things in your book, Break the Business, and I have to always read the title, Break the Business, Declaring Your Independence and Achieving True Success in the Music Industry. She's going to ask you a couple questions about some of the content in your book. But the last thing I wanted to talk to you or ask you was, one of my clients that I work with, who I've been producing, had a great question that I wasn't 100% sure how to answer. And maybe there is no simple answer, and that's fine. If you've written, say, 10 songs for a record, and you wrote 5 of those on your own, and 5 of those with a co-writer, do you have to register those 2 in 2 separate batches?
That's a great question. You can do it all in one big batch. It can get a little complicated, so that might be something where you want to bring in a lawyer to help wrangle everything, because one of the things that you're going to want to make sure that you cover with that lawyer before you go start registering anything is you want to set up a split sheet with you and the co-writers. A split sheet is a simple contract between you and all the writers in which you guys write out how much of each portion of the song each of you owns. How much of the music does each person own? How much of the lyrics each person owns? You want to get that stuff written out before you register copyrights, and particularly before that song goes out and makes money. Because if your song becomes a hit, it's amazing how people's memories suddenly get fuzzy about how much of that song they wrote. And then you have other people coming out of the woodwork, and that groupie you had in the recording studio is like, hey, I actually wrote half of that song. And it's nice to have a contract in place before all the money gets made that says, look, this is what we all agreed on. This is what the ownership splits of the song are. And it can save everybody a lot of heartache later.
And I'm glad you brought up split sheets, because that was not a part of the equation I had considered. I'll post a link to CD Baby's sample split sheet that I would advise people actually to if you have counsel who can look at it and make sure it works for you. But it's at least a starting point.
There's also a company called Song Splits where you can do the split sheets electronically, and they're pretty good. And look, is what you're going to get on CD Baby necessarily something that's as good as what's drafted by an experienced entertainment lawyer? Maybe, maybe not. But at the same time, something's better than nothing. So I'd rather people fill out the CD Baby split sheet than just say, we'll remember it later.
Well, I'm glad you brought up song splits too, because I heard about that first on your podcast, and I set up an account, and then I promptly forgot to use it. So thank you for reminding me to do that. I'm going to do that. Why have I been printing out copies of all this stuff when song splits, and it stores it for you? Thank you. All right, now that we've proven that Zak Sloan can't remember how to take his own advice, and we talked a little bit about some of the content of Ryan's book that you thought was pretty interesting. Do you want to chat about that for a minute?
Sure. So, Ryan, thank you for the book. This is great. I've, in particular, been looking at the chapter 10, Make a Plan, and I love how you have things just beautifully laid out there. So, specifically, some questions I was looking at that maybe I can expound on. After you make sure that you're ready and take an inventory of strengths and weaknesses, you have the very practical advice of maximizing your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses, which can be a painful process, but a really useful one. And you go through really great examples on there. What I'm looking at, you give a really nice, like, how to prioritize and how to decide whether you can overcome, outsource, or avoid your weaknesses. Do you have favorite resources or other ways of, especially like outsourcing weaknesses? You mentioned a couple. Do you have other like references or sources for that as well?
For outsourcing?
Yes.
So my two favorite platforms that I even use personally to outsource a lot of the things that I'm not very good at or that I don't have the time for. One is Fiverr.com, which is a fantastic resource. You have people who do all kinds of different work for you. A lot of it for as low as $5, but if you want maybe a faster turnaround on a particular project, you can ask for a little bit, you might want to pay a little bit more. But I've had people on Fiverr do all kinds of great stuff, and it's been a huge hit. Now, sometimes the outsourcing that you need is for more ongoing projects. It's not just a one-time thing. You might need somebody to help you for a number of weeks or months. And an online platform that's great for that is Upwork. Great project to get like freelancing on an ongoing basis. You can pay people over time. It takes the money right out of your account. You can prepare the contracts for the services right there on the platform. You handle it all on the website. And I use Upwork for a lot of stuff as well. And it's been, huge for delegating things that I'm not very good at. And there's a lot of those things. So it's a lot to delegate, or just things I don't have time for because, there's just not enough hours in the day.
Right.
And Ryan, can I ask, there's a one you brought up on the podcast a while back. I forget what its name was, but it's effectively a place where you can go ask music business questions, and the website pools professionals who will answer them.
Oh, it's a great website, the Musicpreneur Hub.
There we go.
Awesome.
Founded by Tommy Darker. He's a great music business professional, really knowledgeable guy, has worked in the industry for a long time. He basically set out to build the Quora of music industry advice, where you can, send your questions out to the community and they, come back to you with answers. But unlike Quora, where anybody can answer your question and, you probably get a lot of bad answers, all the folks on Musicpreneur Hub who are giving you answers are vetted experts in the music industry on whatever particular issue they're writing about. So I've written a few things on Quora, some other, fantastic artists and music industry professionals. Sorry, not Quora, Musicpreneur Hub. Some other fantastic artists and professionals are on there as well. And it's becoming a really cool community. It's the website's only been out for, a few months, maybe a year. And I love the chatter on that website already. I really like where it's going.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, that's very helpful. Okay, so looking at my other big question, looking at chapter 10 stuff, when you're setting your organizational goals, you have the phrase of being ambitious yet reasonable, which is great. How do you do that?
Well, that's if I was 100% perfect in that, I perhaps would be in a much larger house than I am. But I think that's a fantastic question, and it's a challenge we constantly confront because it's sort of like when you're setting a goal on Kickstarter. If you set it too high, you don't get funded and you get nothing. If you set it too low, you're in for a nightmare because now you're responsible for a project you can't afford to do. And it's the same thing with your music career. If you set your goals too high, you're not gonna, you're not being realistic. You're not gonna achieve them. And if you set them too low, then you're not gonna, achieve the things. And you always want to err on the side of big goals. And, you can accomplish more than you think you can. And big goals keep you focused. They keep you honest. And one thing that you can do in particular to make sure that you're keeping your goals ambitious but also reasonable is make sure that you have some sub goals along the way. It's not at all crazy for you to say that within 2 years or 3 years, you're going to be a musician that is completely self-sustaining and you don't need to rely on any other income to support your career. That can be reasonable if along the way for that 3-year timeline, you're setting a bunch of goals in between that are going to sort of get you from where you are to where you want to be. If you keep those kind of sub goals reasonable and you come up with distinct action plans to get you to each step along the way, you're going to be able to create something that's reasonable. Now, if you say that you're going to be, richer than Taylor Swift in the next year, I don't care how many sub steps you put along the way, that's not going to happen for you. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't reach for the stars. You just, you make sure you have some nice steps along the way.
Perfect. Yeah, and you do a beautiful job of, as you're going through and inventorying strengths and weaknesses, and developing an action plan for all of those things. So looking at how you have this as a living document, and of course you're adjusting things all the time. How often maybe do you recommend like revisiting that and refining that action plan?
I would say as much as possible, and you're certainly not any less frequently than once a year. It might seem silly, but when you get to kind of just keep going back to this little paper you've written, but when you're out in your music career, when you're really in the thick of it, it's easy to get bogged down with the micro level stuff. What tweet do I have to tweet today? I have to get this song out. I need to respond to this email. I need to make sure this gig gets set up. And it's so easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day that whenever you can get the chance to take a step back and take a 30,000-foot view of your career, and ask myself, where am I going? What am I doing? Is what I'm doing now actually facilitating my larger goal, or am I just spinning my wheels? And am I working hard for nothing? And if you can figure that out, you can waste a lot of unnecessary time and heartache doing stuff that just doesn't matter. And in this business, it's so easy to get bogged down with stuff that doesn't matter. And as an aside, I'm glad you're asking me all these career plan questions, because as I say in the book, making a plan for your career, taking inventory of your strengths and weaknesses. And again, this is going to sound so terrible coming from a lawyer, but it's more important than any legal advice I can give you. And that's why in the book I say that when I meet with clients, before I even get too deep in the legal advice, I sit them down if they don't have a career plan, and we do a career plan. Yeah. Because I got to make sure that whatever advice I'm giving you is actually going to serve what you want, as opposed to just what you think you want at the time. And taking inventory of those strengths is so important. And when you're taking inventory, you want to look at strengths that maybe you don't think are important for your music career. Like, okay, my strengths are, I'm really good at writing songs. I'm a fantastic guitar player. But, in this industry, you want to look at some of the other strengths too. Are you good at cooking? Are you good at sports? Are you good at, crocheting, making bolo ties, whatever it is? Find those hidden talents of yours. Are you excellent at tying neckties like Zak Sloan is? Whatever those are, take inventory of those too, because you'd be surprised how you can take some of those interesting strengths and find ways to incorporate those in your music career. Like, are you a good cook? Awesome. Do a YouTube web series where you're cooking stuff, throw your music in the background of this, and now you have another promotional vehicle for your music. Oh, and by the way, you might just be so darn good at cooking that your internet cooking show takes off more than your music ever did. But now you're finding ways to, leave all your talents out there and leave nothing behind. It's sort of like how they say that Native Americans use every part of the buffalo. Like, use every part of your talent buffalo. Because
I love that, the talent buffalo.
Right. Whatever you have that you're good at, like, find a way to use it, because talent can be such a limited resource of yours, and it's so hard to cut through the clutter that, why just be a singer when you can be known as, oh, it's the singer who cooks stuff. I remember her throughout the morass of all of the music I listen to every day. And, it can help make you distinctive.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I love how even though you have things very logically, planned out there too, you're like, okay, don't forget to be creative and to tie all this together. And yeah, be sure to, think of ways to incorporate your many talents, your talent buffalo.
Ryan, you've given me like 2 quotes that I really want to write blog posts about. One is err on the big side of goals, or on the side of big goals, and the other is use your talent buffalo.
Use your talent buffalo.
Yeah, those might be our next blog episode right there.
Holy crap, that's good.
Yeah. And I guess in addition to looking at strengths, I sort of a similar vein to this is do the same thing, but with your interests as well. If there's something you're really knowledgeable about or something that you really, really love, incorporate that into your art so that, you can, so you can make yourself more distinctive in your career. There was a guest who I had on the show named Emmy. She's a pop recording artist, and she's super into geek culture, pop culture, and she, ninja movies, things like that. She puts all that stuff in her music videos, and she attracts that fan base. And I think an artist who's all of that on steroids is Mary Amber, who is somebody we were talking about before the episode started. She's super into comic books, science fiction, Doctor Who, and everything about the way she presents herself online just bleeds that. I mean, her webpage, you go to Mary Amber, MERI, amber.com. It's just one big comic book. Like she drew the whole thing like a comic book, and that resonates with her fan base. She attracts that kind of fan base, people who like that kind of culture, resonate with her music, and it helps her get gigs at things like comic book conventions and gaming conventions and things like that. It puts a whole other audience for her music that she wouldn't have otherwise had if she was just like, I'm going to be a musician and here are my songs.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, Ryan, out of respect for your time, can we just ask you one final question before I plug all of your awesome stuff? Can you tell us about the Break the Business Podcast 7-Note Challenge?
Oh, I'd be happy to. I'm so excited for this. So I should take a step back and first note that so the System of a Down lead singer, Serj Tankian, who is so cool, it was like the soundtrack of my high school. He recently put out a contest. You go to serjtankianchallenge.com, and it's a song contest, and it's anybody can enter. And there's only 2 rules. 1, your song has to be less than 3 minutes. And 2, it has to begin with a specific sequence of 7 notes, something like ba da 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 da. And you can hear a much better version of those 7 notes by going to his website. And other than that, you can do anything you want with the song. It can be any genre, any tempo, any key, any instruments, whatever you want to do. And if you do the best song, you submit the song, I think by December 15th to his website, you can win $5,000. That's the grand prize, which is just a great chunk of change. And so on our podcast, the Break the Business podcast, we want to encourage our listeners to enter that contest. And I totally want somebody who listens to my show to win, because how cool will the bragging rights be there? And so we've actually created our own mini version of the song contest, which are the same exact rules, except you submit your song to breakthebusiness@gmail.com by December 8th, which is 1 week before the other event. And if you win our mini song contest, you win a ridiculous prize pack of, I think about 10 or so former guests of the show have donated merchandise, albums, books. I'm throwing in an hour of consulting services where we can talk about your music career. And so, it's a pretty cool prize pack. I think it's worth over $500 now, which is pretty insane. And so the idea is you submit to our contest by December 8th at breakthebusiness@gmail.com so that by December 15th, you can send your submission to serjtankianchallenge.com and win that contest too. But it's such a great thing to get involved with. On the podcast, we talk about how when you give your songwriting prompts or constraints, it actually can bring out more creativity. And if you win either our contest or Serj Tankian's contest, you can win prizes. You can get some great exposure. It can be a nice boost for your career.
And the prize package is really robust. I mean, the consulting with you is really cool, but aren't you giving away a copy of your book as well?
That's right. We get a signed copy of the Break the Business book. You also get books from Ari Oh, nice plug. You get books from Ari Hurston, How to Make It in the New Music Business. Oh, there it is. I love that book. It's so good. So knowledgeable. We've had him on the show twice. He's the best.
That was the first episode I listened to. It was his second with you.
Oh, there you go. And you also get another book that immediately comes to mind is Ariel Hyatt, the PR agent extraordinaire. Whoa, my God, there it is. Yes, CrowdStart. She wrote this fantastic book on crowdfunding, and you get a free copy of that too. And in addition to that, you get a bunch of albums from guests we've had on the show. You get some ebooks from Suzanne Polinsky, the Rockstar advocate. Shut up. The Rockstar Life Planner. You get that one. Oh, man. You might, let's see. I think there's like an ebook from the Indie Band Guru. Mm-hmm. God, there's so many great prizes. Man, I almost want to see if I can just name any random book and you're just going to be able to, pull it out. War and Peace, first edition, go.
Hang on. Actually, it's I have my studio set up on top of old Supreme Court reports, so I have
Oh, there you go.
Good stuff.
It's like Marbury versus Madison, go.
I think that's in number 1. I actually don't have number 1. But then also it was I think Mary Amber's giving away a pretty cool prize pack. And,
yes, she's giving away so a couple of her albums and also some of her merchandise. I'd have to look back, but it's she's got a nice little music and merchandise pack, and her merch is so cool because it's all kind of fun and sci-fi related. And
that's cool.
Yeah, no, and she's the best. If you're not down with her music, you gotta look her up. She's really awesome. All the guests I've had have been great. Like so many awesome musicians.
And I think the other album, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Verity White? Isn't her record in this somewhere?
Yes, it is. She's a fantastic British rock artist. She just put out a new album called Breaking Out. And her album's in there too, and it's a awesome album. We were talking about during the break about DJ Spruik. He's a fantastic electro pop recording artist from Buffalo, New York. He does these really ambitious Kickstarter campaigns that combine narrative elements with ambient electronic music. They're really fun, interesting, cool albums. Nobody's doing anything like him. You get a copy of his latest album, Pieces, which he's currently making now. He just funded the Kickstarter last week or this week, something like that. And you also get a copy of his previous Kickstarter album, Music to Die Alone and Space 2. He brings in a lot of awesome, talented voiceover artists and authors to help make these albums. Mikey Newman, Movies with Mikey, he's in there. And they're so well done. They're so awesome. And you get his album too. I know there's some others, but if you go to my Twitter account, at Ryan Kair, you can see the flyer for the 7-note song contest on there. And you get all the information about all the people that are in our fantastic prize pack. It's a really good prize pack. It's not quite as good as $5,000 that you get with the Serge Tonkin contest, but enter both of them and you could win a pretty sweet set of cash and prizes.
Well, and if people follow the advice contained in all those books, they should net well over $5,000.
That's what I'm saying.
So I think it's great. So Ryan, you threw out your Twitter there, and people can find you at Ryan Kair. Is that right?
Yeah, my first name and the first 4 letters of my last name. And
then breakthebusiness.com, correct?
Yeah, you can find the podcast, the Break the Business podcast, at breakthebusiness.com. We're available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Cool. And then if they want to pick up a copy of your book, is Amazon the best place to do that?
Yes, indeed. It's called Break the Business, Declaring Your Independence and Achieving True Success in the Music Industry. You go to you can also go to breakthebusiness.com and find it there. The book is available in ebook, paperback, like the version you have there, and audiobook. So if something about this voice is particularly pleasing to you, then you can hear me narrate the whole thing.
Fantastic. Well, Ryan, thank you so much. We really appreciate having you chat with us a lot about serious topics and fun topics. And hopefully we'll be hearing from you again soon.
You have me back on anytime. I love chatting with you guys.
Cool.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
Everybody, I'm here with my dog, Annie, to remedy a mistake we made on the video. I forgot to mention, at the end of our videos, Ann and I usually, well, not usually, always, have put a song that we've been working on or something at the end. And Ann and I had talked about last month how she was going to post, as part of the video, she was going to do a discussion and sort of maybe a performance of a song that she was working on so that you could see her process, how she writes, you know, how that works for her. And when we were able to book Ryan Kairalla to do the video with us, that sort of became the focus because he's a really cool guy and he knows his stuff, and we decided to make that its own focus. And then we also sort of discovered that in the process of discussing her process as a songwriter, that was not really a 5 or a 10-minute piece of a video, that was going to be its own video. And so Ann is going to do, and I'll be part of it, but it's mostly going to be her, is going to be a whole video of how she does her writing process. So we didn't forget about that. We're still going to do it. That's going to happen. It's just going to be its own separate video as opposed to a tag onto this video where it wouldn't have really made much sense. So what we're going to do today is you're going to get to hear a song from she did the Hard Road Trio called All We Never Knew, which is off of their Smoke and Redemption record, which this is fantastic. I love this album, not just because I love Ann. This is an amazing record. They also have another album out, Marcello, which is a fantastic record as well. Hard Road, you can't go wrong with the Hard Road Trio. Buy their stuff. It's really, really good. So you're going to hear from her just now a song called All We Never Knew. Really cool song that Ann wrote and performed with the Hard Road Trio. And then also after that, you're going to hear my most recent single, Porcelain, which is a song that I'm really, really proud of, that I wrote, produced, released, did all my typical Zak Sloan thing where I just do it all and put it out there. So you're going to hear All We Never Knew, and then Porcelain, and Annie says hello. You're ridiculous. Where are you going? What are you doing? I guess she just wanted to say hi and then lay back down. Take care, y'all. Hey, Ryan Kairalla, you're dope, man. Thank you so much for talking with us. That was a lot of fun.
Thought I knew what love was made of back when I turned to you. Love was sweet and we chanced to meet. All we never knew. Back when I thought you were made of gold, dust, and truth. Back when I thought I was made of poetry and proof. What did we know? Got popcorn and candy, settled in for the show. Take your chances, life will show you. All we never knew. Back when you thought life was made of what others told you. Plans were made and quickly broken by all we never knew. Back when you thought you could make it by just cruising through. Back when I thought lives were taken all we wanted to. What did we know? Got popcorn and candy, settled in for the show. Take your chances, life will show you. All we never knew. All we never knew. You ask me if it changes, is it true? Up to you to decide our own truth to show or hide. Just hold tight tonight, don't turn out the light. Say a prayer for all who feel like the few. Keep it burning bright, and we just might manage to get through. What did we know? Got popcorn and candy, settled in for the show. Take your chances, life will show you. All we never, all we never, all we never, all we never, all we never knew.
The bridge is bending and statues shake. We're descending with what's at stake. I can see what's coming from miles away. And you are loving, trying not to break my heart. But it's falling apart. If you love me, then love me. If you're leaving, then go. Get your tongue out your cheek, say what you mean. I ain't made of porcelain. If you're seeking something, go find it. And if you need release, please stop biting your lip, cut to the quick. I'll find my way again, and cracked and broken. But that don't make me porcelain. Time lapses and your essence heals. I'm done collapsing and starting to kneel. Strong and steady, come what may. I am ready for what comes my way again. But I comprehend. If you love me, then love me. If you're leaving, then go. Get your tongue out your cheek, say what you mean. I ain't made of porcelain. If you're seeking something, go find it. And if you need release, please stop biting your lip, cut to the quick. I'll find my way again, cracked and broken. That don't make me porcelain. And I won't bring you back. This hold has no cracks. Oh, lesson learned. Don't build a bridge just to get burned. No magic comes in waiting, and I won't be mistaken, 'cause this contemplation is breaking, but we ain't changing. If you love me, then love me. If you're leaving, then go. Get your tongue out your cheek, say what you mean. I ain't made of porcelain. If you're seeking something, go find it. And if you need release, please stop biting your lip, cut to the quick. I'll find my way again, cracked and broken. But that don't make me porcelain.